Okay. I'm recording now.
Excellent.
All right. Yeah. I'm just going to switch over right away here to our overlay and welcome our audience on YouTube, because this is not going out live, to the session 0 for Svavelvinter-spelet. That's a mouthful for you in Swedish. Loosely translates to the Sulfur-Winter role-playing game. This lovely, lovely game, published back in 2012, if I recall correctly, by the Free League. One of their first games, and sort of the predecessor to the Year Zero system that came out with Mutant Year Zero and Forbidden Lands and all the other games associated with that. This is a game that was completely designed around Erik Granström's setting for Trachoria. A North American audience listening to this will have no idea what that is, because it was never published in English. Still hasn't been, to my great disappointment. But me, a Generation X Swedish role player, we grew up with this stuff back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's the single most famous, legendary role-playing campaign that's ever been published in Sweden, bar none. Like, forget Ravenloft, forget Forgotten Realms. You know, it's all those rolled into one for us. Very formative. And I think it's a fun ride. So here we are. I am introducing this to a North American audience with North American players, recorded for the first time in English. I don't know how many English-speaking people will watch this, but it will be here if you're curious about, you know, Free League and Erik Granström's writing and plots and so on, which is good stuff. Because if it wasn't, we wouldn't be doing this. So that's what we do here. How would you guys rate what? Since this is session 0, we've been talking about like calibrating. I sent you out the whole tabletop Monty Cook's calibrating for veils and you know, all that stuff that you don't want to see in a game. I think we set it to something like rated R or something like that, didn't we? Ish.
I believe so.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah. So, for an audience to know just about where we put this, today, as we're doing session 0, I've already been talking to my dear lovely players here a lot over Discord, preliminary discussions about their characters as we're going to do them now. But we still have quite a bit of work left to do. So tonight, today, wherever you want to watch this, this session, we'll nail down the histories of these people, the characters you're playing. We are going to go over a lot of background stuff, you know, how they grew up, what's the world about. I'm going to devote quite a bit of time to, I guess, do mini lectures about Trachoria to introduce the setting. I know that you've already read up on some of the material that I sent out, but I feel like you probably still have a lot of questions about it. So that when we start the genuine adventure, you can feel that you feel at home in the setting, and that you have like fully fleshed out personalities with the motivations and goals that they should have. But without further ado, let's introduce everyone around the table. I am Mikael Hellström, of course, the GM, and on the left of the screen we have the infamous Rob. Do you want to say a word?
I mean, I don't know what to say. It's relatively self-explanatory. Rob.
Yes, indeed. And Goat.
Hello.
And Steph.
Hi, everyone. I'll be on video shortly.
And we have Emily as well.
Hello.
We don't know which characters they will play, or we don't know what names these characters will have just yet, because we didn't get that far. Normally, when I do an introduction, we do have, like, I'm playing the fighter Frida, the bloody demon slayer, with Forbidden Lands, right? But we haven't gotten that far yet, so let's jump into the world, shall we? That's where we want to be. On the screen, you will be able to see the map of Trachoria, basically. The Trachorian Empire. What is this? It's a trading empire. This is a Renaissance setting, very much, except there are no guns, right? There are no handguns, there are no arquebuses or cannons or anything like that. They've just invented gunpowder. Let's call it black powder. It's used for mining, and maybe some people are brave enough to put a barrel of the stuff on a catapult and shoot it away with a poorly trimmed fuse that may or may not work. But that's kind of where we're at. So unlike then Forbidden Lands, which is very much Iron Agey and, completely deserted, and you can go for a long while without finding anyone, and the villages are at max 500 people, here we have grand metropolises. We have a thriving civilization, a trading empire, the capital of which has... Well, I'm not sure if I've seen an actual listing of how many people live in Tresilva, but it's a lot. Think of it as a fantasy New York, if you will. And it's a quite diverse empire as well. When we discussed last on Discord, everyone, basically it seems like you are mostly from 2 of the 4 islands. The main island, for the audience's benefit, is Paratorna. That is the power that has basically conquered the other 4 islands. In different ways, these Paratornians are haughty, arrogant, very greedy, and will basically do anything for a profit. Which might be connected to their religious devotion to this. They do worship the goddess Castique. I'm going to call her Castique in English because Castique sounds a bit weird in my mouth. Who is the goddess of prophets. And the sail sanctifies the ends, if you will. That is pretty much a national motto for Paratorna. This empire is ruled by an empress, and there's a council called the Bodak that consists mostly of nobles that have a lot of technically the emperor is ruling. There's an emperor who rules, but he is mostly a drunken lout, so it's an open secret that the empress is running the show while he's off getting drunk somewhere.
Okay.
That could be the Emperor Trastamara. He's Alicella, I'm sorry. She is Trastamara. He's often a drunken lout and cuts lots of ribbons, but otherwise he's busy partying. So she is openly, as an open secret, she is the one running the show. Her popularity is not great among the Paratornans, I should say, mostly because she's a foreigner, I guess. Paratornans can be xenophobic, but ironically enough, their greed is much more important to them than their xenophobia. So they're absolutely fine with pretending to not disdain other people if it helps them do business, which has made them remarkably successful compared to other nations around the oceans around here, which are not on this map. Now, even so, they are not necessarily always popular within their own empire. As I said, they have taken control of these 4 islands, and on each of the other 4 islands, there is a resistance to their power in different ways. And that's pretty much where this group comes in, isn't it? You've basically decided that you want to make characters that are anti-empire, and for good reason. There is an ongoing guerrilla war on the northern island of Trinsmira. There is a group of nobles on the island of Palamux who dream about the time when Palamux was the empire that controlled all the 4 islands before it collapsed. Things
were much better for people then.
Indeed. And on Safina, there's also a big ethnic group who dream of the time when Ransard, which is a neighboring country off to the east, you can't see it on this map, had control over Safina, and so on. So there are definitely pools of resistance everywhere, for better or worse reasons, one could say. As a setting, I would describe this as lots of scales of grey. You can definitely find very decent, well-mannered, nice people in Paratorna. It's just not necessarily the norm with their arrogance. They have, one of the cultural traits of the Paratornian is that they have elevated the insult to an art form. One of the things, as if you were a tourist traveling to Paratorna, you would do very well to practice your insults as you get there, because if you're not insulting everyone you meet, they will in fact get insulted because you're not. Yeah, that's how the island works. They will respect you if you can deliver a particularly cutting remark, and if you can't, they will see you as weak, feeble, and bad. That's not something that how the cultures on the other islands necessarily work. The Transmirans are a much more jovial people. They love music, they love dancing, and quite a few of them have joined the resistance group and conducting that guerrilla war against the occupying Paratornian forces. Why are the Paratornians occupying Transmira? Well, for the same reason as they do everything else. There's profits to be made there. Transmira has, in these mountains, we'll go over each island in more detail later on, very rich ore deposits of various kinds. It's iron ore, there's tin, copper, other metals that they want to mine. And basically they've turned those mountains into their own private labor camps where they send anyone they don't like and send them down to the mines under absolutely horrifying conditions, and that's not making them any more popular with the locals, because quite a few of the people in those camps are locals.
Amazing.
Yes, very charming. Palamux, as I said, is the home of the empire that preceded Trachoria. About, 1 or 2 centuries ago. I'll look it up later on. But it's not just that. It's a fairly diverse island. All of these are diverse in various forms. But if you would ask a Paratornian what the sort of cultural trait of the average Palamoxi person is, it is serious-minded. We get closer to sort of a mix between Arthurian chivalric ideals and a very hardcore interpretation of the Protestant work ethic. You are wearing bad clothes if they haven't lasted for at least 2 generations. Like, you're literally going to wear the clothes that your parents wore before you, because if you do something, you do it well and it's going to last, right? Where the Paratornians will party as much as they possibly can and be very noisy about it, the Palamuxi will be very serious-minded, stick their nose close to the dirt, keep working hard, take a great deal of pride in their craft if they are, commoners, or a great deal of pride in their noble lineage if they are nobles, and, in feats of arms and things like that. So they are very different in that sense. The Safinans, to go over quickly, the 4th island, are about as jovial as the Transmirans in many ways, but where the Transmirans are focused on song and music and dancing, the Safinans are much more invested in food. They love food. Safina is basically the breadbasket of Trachoria. And the soil there is immensely rich. There are legends about it. And you can tell, it's more than one person who has gone to Safina as a tourist has left there about 20 pounds heavier. You will be well taken care of by the Safinas, and many of them don't care too much about who is running the island, because they have enough food. They're not going to run out of food. That's fine. Except maybe there are some who are, remnants of the Ranzardi people who used to have Safina before the Trachorians took over. That's a really quick rundown of the 4 islands. We'll get into the details. But first, let's have a chat with each of our intrepid players here and where we're at with the plans for your characters. We talked some of that. One interesting piece here in our game is that each player here, this is the 4 adventurers for the Conflux epic, which any Swede listening will know what that means. But we also have another 5 people here playing, not here tonight or today, or if you're watching on a day. They are playing so-called shadow powers and the big bad. I'm gonna go through this type of thing with them as well, off screen, if you will. Before we actually get going with the grand campaign, and they will make agents that will be out there and doing their master's bidding. But that you will also be running a shadow power of some kind. So this session will cover both your character, where they're from, their background, what they've experienced so far, and who is controlling them. Which power player on this great board that is Trachorian politics is giving you orders? Those are really the 2 pieces on the agenda that we have. So who wants to go first? We talked a little bit about character sheets and everything on Discord. And this will be a group effort, right? We're going to discuss motivations and make sure that it fits together with everything, and so on and so forth, so that this is a group. This is a long campaign. It has 4 parts. Each part has at least 4 adventure sites. So it's going to be up to you as a group of players to decide if you want to make people who will stick together through thick and thin. It seems like that's where you're gravitating towards based on our conversations on Discord. Or if you will be pulled apart by forces outside this group, other power players, like the shadow players, if you will, who will give you, I'm sure, offers that will be very generous to collaborate with them at various stages of the campaign. And then we might end up with people here working at cross purposes. That's a possibility for playstyle, but it's really the table here. As a GM, I want to go with what you want to do to calibrate your playstyle, basically. The way the concept that you've put together so far suggests to me that it will be a group that will stick together, which is cool too. I like that as well.
Yes, we don't. I think we talked about we aren't generally looking for an opportunity to stab each other in the back. Some of us get paranoid about such things. It won't go well. There'll be a bunch of dead people everywhere.
Dead people are to be expected, but maybe not PCs, as it were. All right, who wants to start a bit? We've already talked, and feel free to pick it up. Who wants to go first?
All right, I'll go first, but be gentle.
All right.
I love you. You're a brave soul.
I know. Okay, so reviewing things in Discord. I'm sort of like a secret agent.
Yes.
And I'm from Milak.
Yes, Milaka.
But
I think, this is the translation part here. I'm used to Swedish names. You're used to nothing in this world yet, which is understandable. But Milaki, maybe? Some of these translations will have to be sort of improvised on the way to fit the English language as well, because it would be weird if it didn't, right? Because since we're playing this in English, the words have to fit English as well, right? Anyway, just be right. Yes, Milaki. Let's go with Milaki.
Milaki.
Yes.
So for abilities, I was thinking like Machinator looked really cool. I liked the profanities one.
Yeah.
Which should get me in good with any Praetorians that we come across.
Yes, they would love that. Yes.
And then like I wasn't super sure on like a third ability.
We can let that rest for the moment. If I recall correctly, you wanted a high water score. So in this game, for the audience, like in all Year Zero engine games, you have 4 attributes. And they are basically the social attribute, which is in all other games called empathy, and here it's called water. The agility attribute, which is called agility in Year Zero, and here it's called fire. The intelligence stat, which is called wits in most other games, but here it's called wind. And the strength stat, which is called stone here, and in other games it's called strength. And unlike the other games, the rating here is 1 to 3. So if you are going to lean into your social stat, you'll have a 3 water, I recall we talked about. Right? That was what we said.
Yeah. Mostly water, like kind of the face.
Yes, the face character. So you are a agent, basically. That's what we said. And how did we stat? I haven't looked at the Discord for a little while. Sorry. How did we stat the rest of the? Because you have 8 points to distribute between the 4, so you have 5 points left between fire, wind, and stone. Did we go 3 fire and 1 for wind and 1 for stone, or did we go 1 for stone and then 2 for the others?
I think let's do fire 2.
Yep.
Is one of those like kind of like a constitution or like a health equivalent?
Yeah, that would be the stone. Stone is your strength and your hit points.
Okay, so let's do 2 stone then, and then 1 wind.
Right. Which means that she might not be. She's not going to be the scholar of this group. Let's just say.
No.
But that's good. Then you have 2 abilities that key to your water, because profanities and machinator tend to be water skills. That's a good combination. To go over Trinsmira really fast, it's Scotland, I guess. Highlands. As you can see on the map, it's really mountainous, right? It's just a bunch of mountains in the ocean. There are a couple of plains areas. In the west, you have the Milaki Plains, and you have Kark in the southeast. Those plains are not terribly big as plains go. And then Himbergond is where you have all those mines, right? The ore. One interesting thing about these mountains is that they're so filled with iron ore that you can basically go out there and start banging on the mountainside with a hammer, and it's going to make a clanging sound. And in fact, Trinsmirans do that a lot. The main god that they worship here. I should say that too. This is a polytheistic realm. Doesn't matter if you're Paratornan or Trinsmiran or Palamoxi or wherever you're from, everybody acknowledges and respects that there are a lot of gods out there. If you are a monotheist around here, you're a weirdo, and maybe the Inquisition will come and get you, because that's blasphemy. But just because you know that Castique exists as a goddess, you're not necessarily gonna devote yourself to her. And Trinsmirans don't. They are mostly worshipping Inashtar, the goddess of fire. And death, if you will. But also life in many ways. And you notice that very often in their demeanor, right? They love music in honor, and they love they have fire festivals in her honor. Like, you jump over fires to show your devotion to the goddess. The goddess is very matriarchal in a lot of ways. So women have more power on Transmira than they might have in Paratorna. Though I would say that gender generally in Trachoria isn't much of a thing. There's plenty of high-ranking women in the Trachorian Empire, regardless of where you go. Like the director of the Secret Services is a woman. The Empress is running the show, and so on and so forth. Right. So the Paratornian patriarchal system is more patriarchal on paper than in real life. But Transmirans are matriarchs both on paper and and in real life, if you will. What else can I say about Transmira? There is some divisions here. I should probably mark that on the map. The Milaki ethnicity, if you will, goes kind of like so across the map. So mostly living in the plains and Himbergons. Then you have the Rung, which are a different people linguistically and ethnically in many ways. Because of the Paratornian occupation on the island, a lot of people from Milaki has fled up to Rung to hide in the mountains, and it's very easy for them to hide there. But that doesn't make them native Rung, and they still speak the Jori type of language that is the dominant language around the islands. The Rung do not, as the first language. They have a different language that is basically of a different language tree. It's called Rungli. As a second language, they will obviously learn Jori whenever they want to leave the mountains, which they very rarely do. Paratornians have never been able to occupy Rung. The natives up there are very effective at keeping them out. Partly because of their quite unique mounts. They have something called the Skolopod that they ride, which is in fact a giant centipede.
Oh.
You can put like 5 people on one of those. Well, the Rungli mountains are very, very steep. They're kind of like mesas. And so it's really hard to climb them if you don't have a Skolopod. So you will have Rungli warriors mounting these Skolopods, coming down the mountainside, doing hit and runs, and then just going right back up again. And the Paratornians can not do much about that. So that's why many of Milakis have gone up there to hide. The third ethnicity, if you will, or kin, I should say, because these are not humans anymore, are here in the Wolfer Woods. The Wolfkin have their home there. They are half human, half wolf. Just like it sounds. And nobody messes with them. Like, nobody. It's absolute suicide to try to conquer these guys. They rule those woods. Very effective guerrilla hunters when they need to be. Many of them leave the Wolfer Woods to act as scouts or rangers or, mercenaries in different ways. And so you can find wolfkin across the 4 islands who are out wandering and discovering the world. That's not strange at all. They don't necessarily take sides for or against Trachoria. Some will be against it, some will be for it. Depends on who pays them the most or whatever their own personal history is, maybe. But that's the makeup of Transmira, if you will. So the question then to you, Emily, is, would you be Milaki or Rungli? Probably more Milaki, I would think. It's going to be easier to hide among the Trachorians that way.
Yeah, it's going to have, easier to fit in. Yeah, Milaki.
Yeah. Which means that you will remember the years of the Mad Milak, who tried to conquer the world and kind of failed. There are several fun anecdotes about that. For instance, when he got so angry with the Safinans, who he plundered their cities and they just whatever. They didn't resist him at all. And then he got even angrier and wanted to show them what for, so he started plundering their villages. But they didn't care too much because they just couldn't retreat to another place with equally fertile soil. And then he got really angry and started burning things. But that just led to him burning down his own fleet as the embers from the burning fields came down and burned his fleet. And then he just kind of gave up and just... He was a gambler, he had dice, and he just went like, yeah, okay. And he threw his dice in the river and went up to live as a hermit and in the mountains of Safina and disappeared from the world stage. And therefore comes the saying the dice are cast. There we go. Yeah. There's lots of fun anecdotes like this in this game. Granström likes to riff on real history and put it in here. We have another fun anecdote from Transmira, in fact, having to do with put the lid on. This is an expression, right? And that is because it comes from the days when the Milaki nobles wanted to protest. This was before the Trachorian occupation. Wanted to protest the local rulers, and they did so by bringing their boxes to the square outside City Hall, if you will. And then they are lying in their boxes and making a lot of noise with pots and pans. Thereof the expression soapboxing. And then the ruler got tired of this, and in the middle of the night when they were sleeping in their boxes, he came and nailed them all shut and dumped them into the sea. Hence the expression, put the lid on. These nobles actually survived that because they drifted over to Myxa, the island, and now Myxa is very, very dense with nobility ever since. So there we go. Some Trachorian anecdotes there for you. Anyway, that's the island, if you will, Transmira. I should probably mention that Transmiras also travel by dancing. You know, like long dancing, when you have like dancing trains. That's how they travel. Because it's more fun that way. All right, where are we now? We need to name you somehow, don't we? Your character.
Yes.
Yes. Good names for Transmira. Names often in this world can be sort of riffs of European names where you remove letters strategically. Typical Transmira names, Ganfrid is one name. Hiatus Nefru was the Mad Milak, who was the dictator on Transmira for a while. What other names here do I have? Virpini, Peter, with an I instead of an E. Patruk, Baldur, Vidar, Manada. So there's some examples of names, if you will. Nefria, Bisram.
Nefria?
Nefria isn't bad. All right, Nefria. Where are you from on this island? If we look closer on various settlements here, Rakma and Vumbra are provincial capitals, and I can describe them in more detail for you. The others here are mostly villages, but we want to know what is her place of origin.
Let's kind of go like that Kalhala place looks like it could be kind of fun. Sort of near the capital, but not quite, by the mountains and kind of close to Himbergond.
Yep. Himbergond, of course, being that wretched place of lots of Trachorians occupying.
Scum and villainy.
Yes, exactly. They have, in fact, one of the most merciless Condottiers patrolling Himbergond and running some of those mines, which makes that area a prime target for guerrilla activities. Let's see, now, where was I? I was at... Oh, there we go. So, let's go over some of this stuff then. We have Kolhala. See if there's anything in here about that. There isn't, in fact. So we're in fact free to make up whatever we want about this little village. I'm gonna say it is probably... I mean, it must be one of these places on the trade route between Rakma and Kark, right? The pass, the mountain pass.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd see a lot of traffic there. Since this is part of Milaki rather than Kark, let me describe it a little bit for you. So, this is a landscape that's dominated by small and very steep mountains, so mesas really, small mesas, that can't be found anywhere else in the Trachorian Empire. It's very, very... These mountains forms are very, very particular for this area. And the Milaki have mastered the art of building fortresses on top of these mesas, which makes it really hard for Paratronians to take them, if not impossible. Rakma itself is an old city surrounded by a ring wall, city wall, and it is a very happy place. Always singing, always music coming out of there. In fact, this is a center for what Trachorians know as heavy metal music. And by that, we mean, of course, the type of music you make when you're banging metal wares together really hard. Rakma thus always makes a terrible ruckus, and it's so terrible that the local Paratornian Kondotsier has decided to put his camp a little bit away from Rakma so he doesn't have to listen to this all the time. He is called Kakralgus Pikenose, by the way, because of his strange helmet that has a very long nose. Also, the city is made mostly of stone houses, which is a very typical feature for Transmira in general, because you love fire as a Transmiran, and you have fire festivals, and only an idiot is going to build wooden houses in a place where people constantly make big bonfires. The Paratornians did that for a little while, and then they learned that that was a dumb idea, so they stopped. Also people here, this goes for all of Milaki, by the way, limit their association with Paratornians as much as possible. In fact, Rakma doesn't even trade with Paratorna. They trade mostly with Palamux instead. And particularly with the city of Hoxo. We'll get to that later on. Yeah, it's a very, very hospitable city, Rakma is. People who like music go there all the time, like a pilgrimage from other places. Yeah, that's about what I have about Rakma and that area. So if you want to be from Kolhala, we can absolutely do that, and then your name would be Nefria, da Kolhala, because everyone is, like, da means from, right? So there we go. How old is Nefria?
Let's go with like 30.
Sounds good to me.
Seen some stuff, but still taking risks.
Yeah. Your home is still in Kolhala or not?
You know, that's a fair question here. Let's see. Close that. All right, so I'm from Kolhala. Yeah, and let's say that I'm just in Rakma now.
Yeah, sounds good to me. In Swedish, because this is a Swedish game, Kolhalla would be like coal hole, maybe. So I'm thinking there's probably some coal mining going on there. I'm suspecting.
Yeah, coal mining.
Sounds reasonable. I wouldn't be surprised if Nefria has been driven away from her home because of her association with the freedom fighters.
I've landed on the blow stuff up side of that, by the way.
Yes. Blow stuff up. That makes sense. So you joined the
stands to
resistance there.
reason.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's a first good overview there. We need some experiences for you. We need to find the third ability for you, or you can take just another ability level of profanities or machinators. So for an audience, you get 3 ability points to start with as a new character in this game. And you can distribute those as you want. You can focus everything on a single ability or spread them out across the board, or 2+1.
So I think I'm actually going to take a 3rd ability, and I'm going to go with Inexhaustible Knapsack.
Interesting. Knapsack. Yeah, so that means that you have a bag of holding to start with. Basically. Yeah, that works for me. I guess then that she's traveling a lot, Nefria is.
Yeah, just like on the road, doing on the road stuff, keeping it vague, keeping it fun.
Yes. As a Trinsmiran, she will probably love dancing a lot and partying, basically. That's
like
what
a
they
good
do.
face should.
Sounds right.
And of course, I will assume that you are quite devoted to Inashtar, unless we decide something else. We also have to define your experiences, destiny, and bane. And of course, get you some equipment before all this is over. But if you want to think about experiences, I can tap one of our other players and let you think a little bit about that.
What are we going for with like the experiences?
It should be, the way I typically run it, it should be 1 experience for every ability to explain how you learned it, basically.
Very cool. All right, I'll think on that.
Yeah. That's an easy sort of thought schematic to help you build the experiences. All right, so let's go to the next person then, because we want to invite everyone here. In my folder here, I have Emily, Goat, Rob, and Stephanie, because of course it's alphabetical. So Goat, do you want to take a stab at things?
Sure, let's do the things.
Let's do the things. And you are not from Trinsmira, as far as I remember when we were talking. You were going to do the Sorcerer for Hire thing, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yes. So now we are back. Are you on Parator? Not you had. I think you are Paratorian, aren't you?
You had him as Kargam originally.
Oh, right, Kargomite. Yes, we talked about that. Yes, indeed. You are right. Sorry, how can I forget? Kargom. Yes. Now we're in Palamux. Palamux can be divided into almost... I mean, all these islands have several different provinces, right? But here we have, I think, a bigger diversity in terms of ethnicity between the provinces as well. I would say that the area that I'm going to paint up now is more or less the same ethnicity, if you will, which is Klavikian. These are the old disgruntled nobles who remember the old times, the good old times when the Klavikian Empire dominated the islands. With the exception for the people in Lasimos, who never cared about any empires at all, but they're still faithful to the same gods. Most people here worship the god of truth, Shamash.
I think Lasimos might be it, from doing this whole like for hire thing that I don't really care about whose empire I'm doing it for.
We talked about Kargom, and I'll touch on that as well before we make a decision here. But yes, Lasimos is characterized as the Holy Roman Empire in the 900s. It's a bunch of baronies, very, very, very conservative, that are now just in a state of constant civil war. They are fighting over who is family to whom, who has the right to inherit what strip of land. Because these noble houses have intermarried so much, it's completely impossible to disentangle the various bloodlines. So everyone has basically an equal claim on everything, which means that this is never going to end. It would have been fine if the king, who rightfully should rule over Lasimos, King Arnim Dunkelbrink, had actually taken his throne. But he didn't. He, in his youth, got a bit drunk, during a feast and slammed his dagger into the feasting table and said, "I will not take my throne on my knight's honor until I have slain a dragon." And normal people who are not completely focused on honor and integrity like that would say, "You were drunk and you spoke in haste." But Palamuxi take things of honor and oath very seriously, and Lasamosi take that even more seriously, and Arn was even more extreme than most Lasamosi, so he has stuck to that oath and nobody's ever seen him again. He's allegedly still out somewhere trying to find a dragon. Rumor has it that he has become a master of Bansi Khan, the martial arts that every warrior wants to learn on these islands. But, I mean, there's lots of rumors about this guy. Nobody knows where he is. So that tells you something about the state of Lasamos. It's a hopeless mess and very poor. When I say that they are very, very traditional in Lasamos, windmills have been invented. The earth-turning plow has been invented. It's being used on Safina all the time. The Lasamosi will not use that. They argue that, if the gods had intended for the earth to be turned, it would have been turned by them.
That might be the deal breaker there.
We stick to what we've always done. So there. They are very conservative. And that's like the Lasamosi there. I should let's see now. Can I do a thing with a different color here? Maybe. Yes. So the Kishat is over here. This is a realm unto itself. It's not strictly speaking independent from the Trachorian Empire. It is a Puritan theocracy ruled by the Crystallocrat Manzonla, who is kind of like a pope. And when I say Puritan, they take the interpretation of the God of Truth, Shamash, to new levels of strictness. They have banned all mirrors because the God of Truth is about truth, and mirrors just show a mirror image of the world, which is thus, by definition, a distortion. You're not allowed to paint people or other things because that's also a distortion of reality. In fact, you should never eat yourself full, because if you're full, that's only temporary, which means it's a lie. So you should be constantly a little bit hungry to acknowledge the truth that life is misery. If you eat something tasty, you need to compensate that by, well, some self-flagellation perhaps is in order. Life is misery. Don't pretend anything else. If you feel happy, it's temporary and it's illusionary, and therefore it violates the tenets of the god. That's basically what the Holy Kishat thinks about the world. They are
so the happiest place on earth. Gotcha.
Yes, quite so. They are dressed in their black robes, and that's recognizable for anyone quite immediately. So far, they keep to their own Holy Kishat, rather than sort of trying to do a missionary work across the world. But who knows if that's going to change or not. Yes, Moscoria is sort of the heart of the old Clavikian Empire. Fontrasilor used to be the capital in those days. It is now mostly a salt plain. Some parts of it can still be tilled. The soil can still be tilled a bit. But it's more prairie than fertile plains, if you will.
Okay.
Fontrasilor being a wretched hive of scum and villainy these days. It's either nobles who spend their time in debauchery, or it's cutthroats. The sex trade is thriving there. You can find a brothel for literally everything in Fontrasilor. And strangely enough, as a contrast to that, the Ziggurats of the Academy of Fondrasilor, which is actually one of the most knowledgeable academies in the world. It's an island of scholarship in the middle of all that scum and villainy.
That sounds kind of great for this character.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Karagom, I will show you how far Karagom goes here. Karagom is also an interesting area. It stretches, let's see now, like... I can't see the Eniac on this map, that bothers me. Like so, no, wait, it should be, now there it is, there we go. So I'll remove the other blue stroke there. So it stretches like so, and basically around like so. It's a mountain area. The people here in Karagom speak their first language is very much like Rungli, not quite Rungli, but same language family, which makes them a different ethnicity than the Klavikians, basically, who speak the same language as the Paratornians. It's a Yori language, same language family. They are, you can think about them as kind of a Pictish tribal clan culture. And the only thing that keeps them from invading Moscoria is a giant hedge, mushroom hedge, that is tended by a group of monks. Why don't they just burn it, you ask? Well, because the spores of said hedge shoot projectiles at hypersonic speeds. So if you go close to it, it's literally like being machine gunned to death. So they don't. These wild people tend to worship the moon goddess Luvena, and rumor has it that that includes human sacrifice and possibly even ritual cannibalism. Many of them file down their teeth to sharp points, if it's for intimidation purposes or actually for eating people, who knows. And they're also great tattoo artists. And in fact, their greatest tattoo artists can use those tattoos for magical purposes. And I think that's kind of where we went into the whole thing with your character, that you might be a tattoo artist from Kargom who is now in Fontrasilor. Or even in Tresilva, possibly.
Yeah, we landed on something like that, because it was definitely doing the tattoo magic thing.
Yes. So that brings us, what kind of an interesting name could we get for you? I don't have that many names for, as an example, for Kargomicians. There is a canonical character called Deidre that might give you an inkling of what their names are. Another one, I'm thinking of giving this to as your mentor, Zelimoga. Who else? Tikra, Jiba, Egerwind. No, that's going to be in Klavikian. Sefanu. Sikunana.
Maybe Sifanu and Sif for short.
Yeah.
I can go with that.
Sifanu, yeah. That works. And you wanted Kargomician symbolism. Is that one rank then?
Yeah, just the one rank.
Yeah, and then we wanted you to have high wind, right? So 3 points of wind. What
the 3 points in wind.
Exactly. Where did we put the other dots? Did we remember that?
One was fire, one was water, and earth is just a 1 point.
Let's see. So you have one in stone. That means that you get to have water or fire to 3, basically. So you do have your 8 points to put out.
So I've got wind at 3.
Yeah.
Fire and water at 2, and earth at 1.
Okay.
That's 8 points, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, at 2. Excellent. What were the other abilities we were thinking about?
Doing necromancy. I forget what the third one was.
Oh, wait. I remember. We were talking about scholarship, weren't we?
you actually at one point, and I'm not saying you're stuck with this, of course, Goat, but at one point, your plan for the third was medicine.
Medicine pathology. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, that's right. We did agree. I was going to have the medicine.
Yes, and that expertise.
Good memory,
in
Rob.
Pathology. Yes, indeed.
Oh no, this was all typed into the Discord channel. This isn't my brain. This is record keeping.
Yeah.
Well, I think the medicine pathology worked with your necromancy thing or whatever.
It does. It does very well.
Yeah. There's some cross there. Yeah.
Yeah. Age for Sifano?
Let's go 27.
Trade sorcerer, clearly. Sorcerer or mystic. So what would your origin be? If we look over the map here, I'm going to say that you're cargo mission because you have the symbolism there.
Yeah.
Krimbith is the capital, but I mean, there's so many different small little villages there.
Is the capital of the biggest city there?
Yeah, exactly. It is.
Okay. I'd probably come from the biggest city. There'd be more opportunities to get out and explore.
This is true. Krimbith. I'm going to say that you're home currently because I remember now that we talked about you being like you're working for hire in Silva for the mafia right now or something like that, for the mob in the capital of Trachoria. So
yeah, I believe so. And they were going to go on a boat to some dig site or something?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm going to put your home to Tresilva at the moment.
Okay.
Then we just have to get the experiences and everything else. But that's a good start. So basically, somehow, you grew up in Krimbith. You must have met a tattoo artist. And then you went out to learn more about the mystic arts, so necromancy, which you probably picked up in Fantasy Lore because it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah, if you're going to find necromancy, you're going to find it there.
Yes. And then you finally end up in Tresilva, working for the mob and learning even more about dead bodies. Lovely. Let's jump to Rob. I think you were also going to be from Palamux, aren't you?
Yeah. The plan was, in fact, from Fantasy Lore.
Indeed. And your home probably still is Fantasy Lore, I would think.
Well, it's hard to move away from sex parties.
You're not wrong. Yes. I
mean, what? Where do you get a big fancy library, all the knowledge you want, and sex parties?
Pretty much. I need to get the map for Fantasy Lore, which is in the rulebook, but I haven't scanned it, so there we go. It's a wretched hive of scum and villainy. I say that a lot, but that's because it's true. Where is it? I'll show it for the camera. There we go, for now. As so many cities that sit around rivers, it's on a floodplain, basically. One interesting feature with the city is that it has fallen into a great deal of poverty, partially because of the eternal storm that rages just outside the delta. There is an eternal storm. It just sits there, and it doesn't move. It's just there. And let's see if I can get a...
It's fun for adventures.
Yes, it sits right out here and just keeps blowing like a hurricane, and that just blocks every chance of trade going back and forth. Furthermore, Lacrima up here to the upriver from the Kafasa River is a very, very salt. Think of it as the Dead Sea. It's super salty. And that salt is carried down the river and has, well, basically killed a lot of the opportunities for farming around here. That's why the Moscorian plains are now no longer fertile for agriculture that much. And the delta has become pretty much overgrown. So yeah, Fantasy Lore has been cut off from trading opportunities, has been cut off from farming opportunities. There's still people living here, eking out an existence. But parts of the city are ruins, and other parts are slums. And then you have the academy, basically.
This will all clear up as soon as we're the rightful rulers of the empire.
Exactly.
That's right. We'll use forbidden twisted magic to fix the land.
Yeah, this will be fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Noble. As a noble, I'm going to say that you're going to have at least one rank in nobility, right? That's what we said?
Yep. So that's probably the only rank I'll put there.
Yeah, that's fine too. That does not give you any expertises. It does just give you extra status and money and stuff.
Yeah, and a bigger mansion.
Yes. Well, at level 1, it's not that impressive, to be honest. But it is a mansion of some kind.
As long as his mansion has a roof, it's better than the surrounding.
Right, like,
or
he's a landowner.
I've played with this party before. It's not necessary. I can't assume that they'll have a roof if I don't provide.
Well, if it is a mansion, it is very... If it's a large mansion, half of it can't be used because it's on disrepair. I can go with that too.
I'll take a small mansion. I'm not a... Take a small fortune.
Indeed. We also mentioned swordplay.
How about you?
Yeah.
Which is normal for a noble. And you wanted tectonic summons?
Yep. Because I'm a pain.
Yes. I will agree. Which you have picked up from a master that you... I'm going to say...
we actually had it the same master that taught Goat, which was how I then knew Goat in Conflux Lore at some point.
So it must have been like a Barbosk necromancer who brought his knowledge of tectonic summons and was desperate enough to sell his knowledge for money.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good.
Barbosks are like the tribes that live in Zidisbar. Very wild folks.
I mean, maybe somebody kidnapped one of his children and that was ransom. I don't know. It's a dark world.
It is a dark world.
Things happen.
Okay. Is that an experience now? Kidnapped a Barbosk.
No, it doesn't fit any of my powers, I'm afraid.
Necromancers. Well, you could have it organized to force him to teach you tectonic summon. Barbosk shaman. To force him to teach you tectonic summons. That is now...
Nothing like starting the game off with a pissed off shaman.
That is now officially one of your experiences.
Bring it, nerd.
Jesus.
He's just a shaman. What's he going to do?
Exactly. Oh, dear. You've had reluctant mentors before. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's either that or, you poison them and withhold the antidote, or you addict them to a drug that is exotic and only you have. There are all sorts of ways.
Cost of doing business.
Indeed. Stone 3. Where did we put the other bloods? The other 5 points.
Excuse me.
You're not going to need much of anything else than stone with this build. Which is
fun. I'm pigeonholed pretty hard into the 1. I figured 2 fire was appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I was really torn on putting the 1. I mean, really putting the 1 somewhere is what I'm stuck on. I don't know if I want to put the 1 into wind or water.
You should probably put it in water. That's the social skill, right?
It is the social skill.
Yeah, I mean, you want to have some social graces as a...
Well, putting the 1 there means I'd have the least social graces.
Yeah, why would you need social graces as a noble? You just punch them in the face.
For the sex parties.
Exactly.
The orgies.
You pay for those, though.
That's the nobility. That's the connection. I mean, you could also put more into your constitution and just be hotter.
I can't put more into my constitution. It's already 3.
No, you can't. 3 is max.
I'm blocked. Otherwise, I'd drain everything to 1 except that. Have a 5. I tell you what. Let's go with. I don't know. What do you think? 1 wind or 1 water? You've actually seen this system in play before.
Let's have a look again. So, Tectonic summons goats with strength, of course, if I recall myself correctly.
I was the only one that did.
Yeah, that was the whole point of going with that. 6 of this, half a dozen of the other. It's really up to whether he wants to be... I mean, you could do another thing here. If we want to... If it's a tie, we could go with 3 fire, 3 stone, and 1 in wind and 1 in water. And then you've optimized the 2 things that you really want and just dump them.
I'm terrible at everything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you have other people for.
Exactly.
This is like the last game.
What the hell's the party for?
Ouch.
Well, I tell you, why don't we just leave... I suppose we'll throw... God. 1 in wind, 2 in water, and move on with my life.
Okay. He can talk to people. He is not a scholar.
No.
Does not read books in this free... What did we call this guy?
I have absolutely no idea. I'm terrible at naming things.
This is true. He has me do it.
Uh-huh.
So, Emily, please work with our lovely game master and find me a name.
Some people in Fontrasilor. We have Tikra, we have Mugin, Jiba, Egerwind, Noble-Eye Damalasta. He's a noble. Yeah, so it should be something fairly pompous here. Like, if we take some kind of Franco-Germanic name, throw around the letters a bit, like... Siegelsmind or something like that, or Teobor, or
what that Dominaleska? What was that last one from the book? Nobelli.
That was Sikunana. No, the Egerwind. Egerwind.
Nope, keep it going. It was like he started with like Nobelli, I think.
Yeah, no, the full name for that guy. This is an NPC they've named. It's Egerwind Noble-Eye Damolasta.
Damolasta. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, from that place.
Gotcha. I don't have a lot of context specifically for Franco-German names. I'm gonna be real with you. Pompous Franco-German names.
Egerwind is pretty good.
To Google.
Egerwind is pretty good though.
I mean, we can go with Saxon things like Aethelstan and just throw around some letters as well. That works too.
God.
Olfred.
Ulfric.
That's a bit Nordic. If we make it
Skyrim.
All right, I'm done.
Thunfric. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Ulfric. Oh, I guess it works. It does.
I know, because it's just saying. Artis. Artigue?
Yeah, Artigue works, I guess.
Artigue.
Oh, we're calling you Artie for sure.
Artigue.
Artigue. Check.
Artigue.
Where is he from? We said Fontrasilor. The Fontrasilor. We should find a nice sort of noble family name for him as well, but we'll work that out. How old is he?
Oh God. Suppose we'll say like, I don't know. Gonna guess learning Earth magic takes a decent chunk. Let's say 30.
Mm-hmm. Works for me.
30 before you know how to talk to rocks.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you just haven't existed long enough to have a conversation.
See? This is absolutely true. Okay, that's a start. We'll get to the destiny and everything. Stephanie! We're back to transmuter, I think. Are we?
Yes, I believe I am with Emily.
Yes, indeed. So let's get ourselves back to the Northern Island.
It's fine.
So, you are... I believe we talked about a wise woman.
Yeah, a woman from the woods, sort of ranger-esque, if you want a D&D
Yes.
comparative.
So, your strength will be fire, I think we said.
3 fire, 2 wind at least.
Yeah.
Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. I think 2 stone, 1 water.
2 stone, 1 water. Yeah, that makes sense. She can't talk to people. She can't convince people that much. But at least she's not a glass jaw. And we had...
I follow Fundabera. Did I say that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Fundabera.
That is your shadow power.
Which is why I have a moon background. That's why I put this.
Yes.
See, the moon is there.
Orgies, go!
Fundibera is an interesting person. She is a witch who she lives on the Gatface Cliff, which is to be found here. And you can't get there except by invitation. Legend has it the parties she throws are legendary. So that's something.
Goal in life: get invited to one of those parties.
And
Exactly.
I follow Luvena, which is the witch goddess, right?
Yes, she's the moon goddess, to be precise. But a lot of witches follow her, and they tend. It's kind of like the my impression of how they've written this is kind of like the Bacchantes, so like a Dionysian cult, if you will, and very matriarchal. It's very much focused on women as leadership. And it's going to be distinctly unhealthy for men to get too close to a party like that if they didn't get the invitation. And so on. So yeah, the Fundibera the Witch is the leader of such a cult, in fact. We talked about you being a potion maker, right?
Huntsman, potion maker, and fortune telling were the 3 abilities that I wanted. Because I figured I could do odd jobs, basically making salves and things like that for whatever nearby village in exchange for goods, and
Indeed.
I could also act as a guide and a Sherpa, if you will.
Yep. So then I'm going to guess that your expertise for Huntsman will be Pathfinder, which is just that, finding the path through the wild. For Potion Maker, what did we take as an expertise for you there?
I don't know what kind of options do I have.
Tolerance is a resistance to the effects of drugs and poisons. And to make potions, by the way, is a wind roll, so that's how that keys. Cupbearer, you have the remarkable ability to taste and smell poisons in food and drink. So when you when you encounter something that's been poisoned, you can spend fate dice on that to succeed.
Okay.
Before you actually get poisoned. You can also have the black powder recipe to start with. That's an expertise. That allows you to actually make black powder if you have the right ingredients.
Is that gunpowder? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or wildfire, which is a specialty of the Transmuter and Resistance movement. They use it to basically hurl like Nafatoon projectiles at Trachorians. It has taught the Trachorians to dress their ships in something called asbast, which is a weed growing on Paratorna that is fire resistant. So that makes the ship go much slower, but at least...
So I can make Molotov cocktails, basically? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. That is an expertise within Potion Maker. And the last one is gutter connections. In your work, you've developed connections with the underworld and can find contacts in such circles.
I'm going to go with Molotovs, the wildfire.
Wildfire recipe.
It makes sense because aren't we anti-Empire anyway?
You are indeed.
Some things are going to have to burn, like the establishment.
Mm-hmm.
I like how we're already arson-oriented. That's a great job, team.
Yeah.
As a fortune teller, you will rely heavily on wind as well. Here's the thing. Right now, your abilities are really much geared towards wind rather than fire. If you, somewhere down the line, as this character develops, wants to develop something like archery, you're going to be a wonderful archer with Fire 3. Just saying.
Well, that's what I figured my... I use a bow for combat. That's what I figured.
And you can already use a bow for combat. Like, with 3 fire, you have a bow, you can shoot it. You're going to get the bonus dice for having the bow. But since you don't have marksmanship, you don't get to put fate dice in it yet. But I'm guessing that's going to happen at a level up at some point. So there we go with that. I'm almost thinking about suggesting that you move 1 point from stone to wind.
I kind of like... I mean, I'm wilderness. I kind of like to stay hardy. I don't want to be...
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah, nobody wants to be the squishy one.
Nobody wants to. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Fortune telling. You have 5 expertises to choose from there as well. Intuition. If you succeed with a roll, you can ask a short yes-no style question of the storyteller about anything, and I have to answer with yes, no, or maybe, but I cannot lie. If you fail, the answer is always maybe. Omen. It's a bit harder. When you and your friends have a plan, if the roll succeeds, you get an omen, a sign that tells you something about what awaits you if the plan is enacted. And I will decide what omen that is, and it will be cryptic and possible to interpret in more than one way, but it should reveal more than good or bad. So there should be signs of things to come in there. The third one is divination. If you conduct a ritual that takes one scene, you can get detailed glimpses of the future. So every successful die allows you to ask the storyteller a short question about what is coming. The answer should be short and can be ambiguous and cryptic, but I cannot lie. The fourth one is omniscient. You know best. You know even better than the storyteller. It gives you the right to change something about a target in the setting that I've just established. It could be an object, a place, a person, or an event. The target cannot be removed, but can be changed according to your wishes. You cannot create new targets. There has to be something as a point of departure. So there has to be a person that I've already described, something like that. Or an object or such like. The extent of the change you want to make determines the difficulty of the roll. If you roll against a difficulty 1, it's something superficial. And if you want to change the entire scene as you want, it's difficulty 3. The fifth expertise here is well paid. You get paid for your fortune-telling services. So your fortune goes up 1 step.
I mean, I don't foresee... I do see her using this to make money, but I don't see her as making a lot of money from it at all. Just enough to eke by. Yep. And I really like the idea of people coming to me and me having weird-ass rituals in the wood for the future. So can you go back to the ones where you get... there was like Omen, and then there was the ritual one. Both of them give cryptic responses, riddles?
Yes, they do. So divination is a ritual that takes one scene, and you get detailed glimpses of the future. Maybe that's the one, then.
Yeah, let's do that.
Divination.
Well, before you write that down, exactly what constitutes a scene? Like, if a scene is all day, maybe it's not worth it.
I don't think
scene, it really depends. It's a dramatic arc. And yes, it can take a day if the things that the people in the scene... Like, if we're doing like a montage and some parts of that is... gonna require a passage of time equivalent to a day, then maybe it takes a day. It's not set that hard in stone. It's a story arc for at the beginning, a middle, and an end of a relationship of people involved in that particular event.
My assumption is that people would use this sort of like they would come to me to do a vision quest, basically, and that's what I would do for them. I put them in the sweat lodge and get them high on peyote, and we would call upon Luvenna to offer us her moon wisdom, and that's how it rolls.
Yep, that sounds good. So, trade fortune teller. We need a name for this person. You've heard some of the other names here. Any inspiration for anything?
I was thinking, well, what are the other names so far? Because I don't want to sound, super same.
Right. We have a Nephria for Emily. Where did that one go? Oh, there it is. We have Nephria. We have Goat's character is Sifano. Rob is Artigue.
Artie. Is there some kind of... I'm looking at a Anglo-Saxon name. Can do a... What is this? I don't like those at all. May, kinswoman. Iffield? No, I don't like all the F's we got going on so far.
All the F's?
Yeah. This is Eldrida, which is wise advisor.
I like it.
Okay, does that work? Eldrida, Eldrida?
Eldrida, yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Where's Eldrida from? You said Trismira, but we need like a village or a town or something.
I think we talked about like that I travel. So wherever my home was, I'm not there anymore, and I'm somewhere near where Emily's at, so that I can maybe she can hire me to pathfinder something for her.
Mm-hmm. So maybe your home right now is Rakma, just like Nephria.
I'm like out. Yeah, I hang outside in the woods or something. Yeah.
Not many woods in that area, but I get the point. I mean, you would be, if you're like traveling a lot, if your home base is Rakma, right, then maybe you travel a lot across the Trinspearn Island back and forth, and there are woods between the mountains, if you will, in the valleys. I mean, you could be from the Malaki Plains, you can be from Kark, you can be from the Himbergon Mountains.
Where's the Fundabera's? Where's she at again? Can you show me?
She's
on here?
at Gatvis Cliff, which is here on
the
east coast.
Yeah. Okay, then let's put me from Kark, and right now I'm hanging out in Rakma for whatever reason.
Yeah. Okay. Is it fine if I just put you originally from Tapers Hall or something, or Vumbra?
What's Vumbra? What's Vumbra?
Vumbra is a big city. And it is very much hated by most Transmiras right now because it's heavily occupied by Paratornians. Has been for a while. Major naval base. They ship all the ore that they plunder from Humbergond. From Himbergond goes out through Vumbra.
Well, maybe that's where I'm from, and I was displaced because
that's very possible indeed.
And that's why I dislike all these things, and that's pretty much why I left, and I don't go back.
Yeah. And people here, like, this resistance comes in all shapes and forms, right? The Paratornians export a lot of langoks to Transmira. What is a langok, you ask? Well, it's basically the equivalent to potatoes. Though it looks more like a vegetable, like a leafy vegetable, right? There is a nice illustration in the books that I haven't scanned. But this has severely challenged the agriculture in Transmira because the langoks are so damn cheap. But every Transmiran who is a true patriot is boycotting these langoks. You just don't touch them. No, of course not. That's Paratornian crap. Why would we eat that? So you would be one of the few people then who is actually worshipping Luvina, but because the mainstream religion here is for Inashtar. But that's okay. So Vumbra.
That could be where I was originally from and left, so I like that.
The city is absolutely filled to the brim with Trachorian mercenaries and soldiers, and their huge ships. The navies there. The city itself is very dark and gloomy, particularly in the Kohler district of the city. This is because a lot of the iron ore is processed in Vumbra. There are smelters there, lots of smelters, heavy industry. And all the soot coming out of there has basically colored the entire city in a very, very dark patina, if you will. But also, the wooden houses of the city are covered and treated with silvolium, basically burned with silvolium to get pests and vermin out of the walls. There is, of course, a lot of music in Vumbra, just as in Rakma, because Transmirans are Transmirans. So that's a thing. But I can see how you how you might have had to leave. It's also a pretty wild city. A lot of times the dance parties end with someone drawing a blade, and then there will be a duel, and then someone is down on the ground bleeding. The city procurator is called Monster Huga. He is, of course, Paratorian, and he has legalized dancing, hoping that you locals will get your anger ventilated through dancing, but I'm not sure that's actually succeeded at all. So yeah, that's Vumbra for you.
Sounds good.
So we have Eldrida da Vumbra then, because that's where you're from, and your origin is Vumbra. How old is this person?
I think I'd like to be a little older. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to be a wise woman, so can I be 41?
You can. You are allowed to. Why don't we do your experiences while we're at it? Because I'm just going to have to go back up the line, right? So,
sure.
How did you learn to be a huntsman?
Let's say someone in my family taught me. How about a mother, grandmother, aunt, something along those lines?
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of female influencer there.
My aunt taught me how to survive in the wilds, in the forests.
Yeah, when did the Praetorians come to the area and like take it over?
Let's have a look again. I don't remember the dates exactly off the top of my head, but I do have the book. So,
thank heavens.
Yes, I'm cheating. Or not. Transmedia. Where'd he go? It's Safina. I want Transmedia. There we go. So, it was about 80 years ago.
Okay, so my grandmother could have easily been displaced as a child by then. So let's say that that's kind of what happened, and my family like hates them, hates the colonists or hates the invaders.
Yep.
And so that's why I was raised on sort of the outskirts of town, or whatever. And that's how I learned to be a huntswoman.
Yes. How did you learn to be a potion maker? Is this, or did you have a particular cool moment when you were doing potion making and things went terribly wrong and you learned from it? Because I'm thinking that you probably learned the whole potion making from the family too. And it gets a bit trite to say, my aunt taught me how to survive the forests of Transmere, and then my aunt taught me how to make potions, because it's exactly the same thing. Let's vary this a bit.
So how do I get involved with Fundabara? So maybe my aunt who I've taken after has introduced me to the cult. Mm-hmm. And the cult, as it were, taught me the potion making, or someone in the cult.
Yeah, it works. We have to make up a good name for this person, but we don't have to do it right this moment.
I mean, it wouldn't be Fundabara herself, would it?
Probably not. Okay. I mean, she's a witch. She doesn't make potions. She makes magic. I don't know if I've seen her stats. If anyone has made them.
What kind of magic does she do?
Moon magic.
Okay, that's right. That's something, and that's a wind-based magic, right?
Yes, it is.
I thought I was looking at that and archery, marksmanship for my next two abilities. Okay.
It's very kind of witchy in taste, if you will, flavor. So, ill omens, you can curse people, you can get visions from afar, you let your inner eye wander across the world and see what happens. You can imbue yourself or someone else with power for a coming test, or incite people's feelings so they get absolutely super hyped up, and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yes, it is.
So
will you end up with 5 different abilities? Is that what you're saying?
Probably. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal. We'll see how long this campaign lasts, though.
It's kind of hard in the system to lose a character.
So how about, I mean, my aunt could have started my training with like some basic, salves and, how to turn willow bark into tea to help with fevers and things like that. But when it comes to actual potions, like the wildfire and whatnot, that was done after my introduction to the cult and my involvement there to get involved with that. So let's say...
Sounds good.
Could I have been involved in some kind of riot or protest of some sort, or tea party?
Why not?
Only burning things down?
Yes, why not?
So I started potion making, let's say, because I got involved in like some kind of Fundabara organized riot. I don't know what else to call it.
That night when you used the wildfire recipe to attack a Trachorian barracks.
There you go. Yes.
Barracks.
That was in my wild 20s.
Yes.
Yeah.
To attack Trachorian barracks. That's lovely. And fortune telling.
I'd like that to be some kind of like natural gift. Mm-hmm. Maybe that I was like born with it as a child or something, and
I discovered my talent for fortune telling when.
I predicted somebody's death. Ooh, how about the death of my parents, and that's why my aunt has me.
Oh, that's awesome. See, this is what I love about this system. When we design these experiences, hey presto, we have a background story for your character now.
I don't know how they died yet, but let's say that I predicted it, and that's why my aunt took me under her wing and got me involved in the cult and everything, because, this sounds good.
I love it. And that gives you lots of connections to the resistance as well. Fundibera as a person, on the meta level, your character might not be fully aware of this, but one of you will be doing Fundibera, right? So doing the moves for Fundibera. Will not be Steph, it will be someone else. So you will want to know, she is not necessarily prioritizing a struggle against Trachoria. She doesn't care that much. She's more interested in other sort of higher level metaphysical issues and might be more of an opponent to the Inquisition than to Trachoria. But mostly she's in it to have fun and be, sort of the Joker that you can't really predict what they're going to do next. So yeah, she's a wild card. She might tip the balance politically one way or the other, depending on what strikes her fancy at any one time. As long as she gets more followers.
Is she sort of like a trickster coyote deity where she's, I mean, not deity, but personality, where she's sort of good, but not exactly.
Again, this setting is very gray. It's hard to find anyone who is altogether good. Everyone has their own motivations. For her, let's see, I'm going to go to the actual shadow play section of the book here and find Fundibera. Oh, is this the wrong book? Yes, it's the wrong book. I have to flip to the other book. This is the thing. These don't exist as PDFs, so I can't scroll and I can't do searches, which is a bit... It's even out of print, this stuff, everyone. I lament to say. I don't know why. But there we are. It's the most classic RPG campaign in Sweden, and alas and alack, they won't print any more of this stuff. Alas, but there we go. Fundibera. There we go. So her strategic objective is to increase her influence and win more followers, basically. That's it. That's what they say. Her view is basically that woman is the crown of creation, and she wants to recruit more young Trachorian women to this cause. Lots of rumors about her, wild orgies, potentially even ritual human sacrifice. But she is a bit of a heroic figure for women around the Empire, really. And that's about what they have here about her. So we can fill in some of the blanks ourselves. I would say yes, a bit trickster, yes.
I like it. Feminist trickster. I'm down.
Yeah, feminist trickster. Yeah, why not? And a wild card. I would not call her like the Batman villain Joker from The Dark Knight, because she's not that destructive the way I read her. I would say that she is more refined. There are some other characters in some other role-playing games that I just thought of, but I can't talk about because that would be spoilers for those plots, so dang it. But I would say... I mean, yeah, why not Trickster? Loki as a character in the MCU is not bad if you tempered Loki with a bit of Hela, maybe. But Hela is a bit too destructive and evil. So it's going to be someone who is more interested in pleasuring, like her own pleasures and her own sensations and having fun.
Hedonist. I get it.
Yeah, a hedonist, absolutely. All right, we need a Destiny and a Bane for you as well, while we're at it. I'm just packaging everything in here.
That sounds good. What are those?
It's one sentence each. Destiny is basically your character's foundational motivation. When you fulfill your destiny during play, that means doing things towards your destiny. You will gain some fate dice for that. So it's a key personality trait for the character. It should be one sentence. Example destinies can include... So if I flip through here, there are some pre-generated characters that exist as examples for people. Here we go. So here we have a bard with the destiny to follow the wisdom of songs instead of the advice of people. And there are others. Like we have an inquisitor that we played once that was to root out the corruption of anti-creationism wherever he could find it, or to defend the creation of the gods at all costs. An aristocrat here could be like to show who is the lord and who is the slave. A wrestler has the destiny to fight in the ring until the body gives up. And so on. So yeah, what is the fundamental sort of motivation for this character?
I'm gonna have to think about it. Can I think about this?
You can think about it. While you think about that, think also of your bane, which is the character's fundamental weakness. You will get...
Is that also a sentence?
Yes. And you also get a fate die to fulfill it. So, for instance, the merchant bane, the merchant pre-generated character here has a bane saying, loses the sense of judgment when he smells new money.
Okay.
Or the poison maker here has the bane addicted to opiander, which is a terrible bane to have, and so on. But yeah, I'll let you think about that a little bit, and then we'll jump to Rob and fulfill the other two experiences here. You have already kidnapped a Barbosk shaman to force him to teach you tectonic summons. What are the other two experiences? I think something around swordplay would be relevant.
Yeah. So, All right. I was swordplay wise. I was thinking about taking a. Gosh, what word was it?
Yeah, an expertise.
Yes, I was thinking about taking a powerful weapon and then making my experience something related to finding the weapon.
Oh, I love that.
Or acquiring it in some fashion.
Yeah.
So I'm really just currently stuck on thinking of something.
Maybe like a rare sword from a faraway land?
Underhanded for. I'm sorry, what guy?
Maybe a rare blade from a foreign land?
Could be.
Right.
Is it a sword? Yeah. Do we have Narsil? Is that what we're saying?
It sounds like
the shards of Narsil.
Take Andoril.
It should have a name, really, as a powerful weapon.
Yes, but that's naming another thing. I'll have to have that one.
Yeah, that's fine. What kind of weapon is it? Let's start with that.
I was thinking like a big stone club, just to stay in theme.
Okay, a stone club. Okay. So on the weapons table, I'm gonna have to go to the. I should really scan the weapons table and put it in our journal for the future, so you can all see it. But it's in Swedish, so. There we go.
Also, feel free to suggest something more rational if at any point I've gone completely insane.
I mean, there is two-handed club. There is one in there if you want it to be one of those. Okay. We could also go with. I mean, if we want to have, I mean, you could have a warhammer.
Okay.
That might be a bit more noble, if you will.
Or you could be wielding a stalactite.
Okay, I kind of like that too.
You have to make a decision.
Yeah. Let's I suppose go with the warhammer.
Warhammer, two-handed warhammer. It's gonna be. I'm thinking one of those that like the knights of the 15th century have this two-handed with one spike on one side and a hammer on the other, and which are really designed to strike through plate armor.
Delightful.
They're very effective at that. So a warhammer, it's two-handed, we say, and that means that it's also heavy, which means that you do need your strength 3 to use it without deductions. Its length will be weapon length will be 3, which means that if anyone has a shorter weapon, you gain the advantage for having a weapon. Damage for this thing is 3, which is horrifying. If you succeed in getting just a hit without crits, you kill the average person with a single stroke. They die.
All right, I'm sold.
Done.
Yes.
You speak my language.
Yes. As a powerful weapon, let's see now. It has a strong bond to you. If you lose it, you can get it back. If I understand correctly, it gives you a bonus die, basically, to attack with it, because it's that good. Give it an appropriate descriptor. Is it shiny, menacing, bloodstained, ancient, something else?
Bloodstained.
Bloodstained. I'll put it in name for now, but it's gonna be a...
Yep. We'll get a name for it later.
Maybe the blood never completely goes away from this weapon. That's one of the magical properties with it. I can see that.
It's constantly moist.
It's constantly a bit sticky. That's horrifying.
Gross. Keeps a little imprint of each bloodstain.
Yes. I think that's what you get for having... I might not have done a complete translation of that one. I'll just double check here. Powerful weapon. It has 1 artifact bonus. That's what it has. So what kind of artifact bonus do we have for this thing? You can decide that. That's from crafting. So let's see now. There's so many different ones. I must have put it in there. Artifact bonuses.
I mean, is there a functional difference between... I mean...
Here we go. Artifact bonuses.
All right. I suppose the question is it super cool? Is it super important that the weapon can damage dragons, demons, and other creatures that are not normally damaged by physical attacks?
That's an interesting proposition. It's in fact one of the possibilities for artifact bonuses. Yeah.
You fed me the artifact bonus list back in October.
Okay. So it's carved with ancient runes. I'm not.
So I suppose my question is that all right? Huh.
So I'll say maybe and look a bit fishy.
Well, if I have things my way, I'm definitely gonna be summoning demons. So yeah, go ahead and get that. That's
all right. Let's go with let's go with I can strike supernatural beings.
Okay.
That
runes.
That seems best.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna put can damage dragons and demons, which is pretty, and other creatures that are normally not damaged from physical attacks. That could even be ghosts, actually.
And I suppose we'll see if it pays off or not over the course of this campaign.
Yes. I can tell you, in fact, I'll give you this much, because you will have heard, I'm sure, before you set out on your adventure. There is a rumor that is very persistent that there is, in fact, a dragon on Marjura.
Sure. Well, who knows? Maybe I'll need to solo a dragon.
They are powerful creatures in this world. Anyway, you found, and then we called the weapon something. We haven't decided the name.
It's something. The bloodstained warhammer. Rudolph. Not Rudolph.
Bloodstained
Rudolph the bloodstained warhammer.
I'm gonna say, was it maybe in your family vault, or was it somewhere else? You've been out traveling. Was it?
Call it pickle.
It wasn't in my family's vault, but since we're one of the old families,
yeah,
I waited until another old family actually died out, and then I raided their family crypt and took the hammer.
In a neighboring family,
grave robbing already.
Stole the weapon. You stole the weapon.
No, I repatriated it for the good of the empire.
From a neighboring family's crypt. That's lovely.
It was going unused. Can't have that.
Can't have that. We want a third experience.
Then I need one. So what I have here, I have the magic one, I have the sword one, now I need a nobility one. Oh, I suppose that's easy enough. So I suppose I moved up to my my current slot in however large my noble family is by merely some people disappearing who were ahead of me in line.
In position in the family hierarchy.
Yeah. I am constantly, or I have advanced to this position.
How
I
about
was not born here.
Killing a rival in a duel?
Okay, deal. With my hammer.
Because you do not strike me as a machinator. You don't have the ability. You are not that, like, that is Emily's character, right? So it's not going to be a trap of status or someone outmaneuvered at court. It's going to be something considerably blunter than that. And in this case, it was a warhammer to the face.
Yeah, he showed up with a rapier, and I showed up with a hammer, and it all, went like you'd expect.
I will say this, for nobles in Moscoria, they have... the people who live outside of Fontrasilor on the states, on the Moscorian plains, they tend to... their traditional way of fighting is by steppe rhino charioteering. The steppe rhino is much bigger than any rhino in our world. So if you take like an African rhinoceros in our world, and you double the size so that it's basically, like as tall as a tall horse, but still a rhino. And then it has 6 legs, so it's a veritable tank. And then you
very sturdy.
Then you put a war chariot behind it with 2 really long knives sticking out of the wheels, right? And then you go, and you have your driver, and the noble throw spears or have a really long lance, and you kill people, which is very handy. And this is what a lot of Moscorian nobles do.
Yeah, perfect. I can throw a hammer, it's fine.
Yes, you can. You do not have mounted combat as a skill yet, as an ability yet, but you might develop it down the line. You're clearly.
It didn't mean I was any good at it. I was just better than it.
Yes, exactly.
You've dabbled in.
Yes, and I think we decided that your character's shadow power is Gerion Groteski.
And the Manticore or something?
Yes, he is the leader of the Manticores, which is a group of Clavikian, because you are ethnically Clavikian nobles who want to restore the Clavikian Empire, throw off the yoke of the Trachoria and such, liberty and everything like that. Right now,
the good old days, sex parties for everyone and taxes for me.
Indeed. The problem at the moment is that the Clavikian nobles are more busy fighting over who is the true heir of the last Clavikian emperor, and going over all the documents. This is why the Academy is good. You have all these lineages and so on. That it's really hard to get a united front against Trachoria. So Gerion's group of disaffected nobles is still a bit too small to attract attention from Trachorians. And sometimes it gets a bit too academic when people are talking about lineages and history instead of actually going out and doing something about it. But I'm sure you'll get around to it sooner or later.
You got to actually do something first, and then the joiners will come along.
Exactly. All right, Goat, let's get back to you here. We need your 3 experiences, and or did Rob want to do some Destiny and Bane stuff, or do you want to think about that later? In a little while?
I am. I'm sorry. I'm actively pondering. Come back to me. I'll have an answer.
I'll come back to you. Goat, what kind of experiences do we have for you?
Okay, so he's at the academy at the Ziggurat?
Yes.
Okay.
I would think that he's learning necromancy from outside the academy. They're still kind of proper people, right?
So... No, here's my thought, is that I was really into medicine, so I started going as like to become a doctor kind of thing. Then I got a little too into it and started dabbling in necromancy behind everyone's back, like going to the forbidden section of the library.
Right.
Started teaching myself necromancy. Then I got caught and kicked out.
I loved it. Was kicked out from the Fontra Silor Academy for his necromantic studies. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I really like that one. The problem is that covers like 2 of those things. So
yes, it does.
So I still need to come up with something else.
Well, and that gives your research rolls are going to be awesome. So you'll be able to re-roll some of that stuff. Okay, 2 more experiences. How about your relationship to your mentor? You've had at least 2 mentors apparently. One for Cargomitian symbolism and one for necromancy.
Mm-hmm. I imagine I would have gotten the symbolism first while I was on the other side of the mushroom fence.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
So, what do we say? How did your master... I'm going to give you Zelimoga as the master because it's a nice NPC to have. He is a tattoo artist. He has, I don't know, 4 or 5 ranks in this stuff. And he has a ship that sails around the world, basically, or at least the Trachorian world, where he sells his services as a tattoo master. And a lot of the tattoos he sells is just tattoos. It's just really beautifully crafted tattoos. And some are not just tattoos. He has his own, and this is not just him. A lot of Cargomitians do this, do tattoos that have very interesting paints, including luminescent paints. So if you want to have a tattoo on this character that is in fact glowing in the dark, you can.
Yes. Yes, I do want glow-in-the-dark tattoos.
So what was it that made Zelimoga train you?
Maybe he just could tell that I could wield magic even before I knew it.
Zelimoga realized your...
magical potential?
Yes, magical potential. When something happened. Did you carve a rune? Did you do something in the sand? Like, these symbols can be put anywhere. It doesn't have to be a tattoo.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, maybe I was just like scribbling stuff in the sand and this stuff started moving around.
Yes, okay, well, we can do that. And you have looked at, of course, what kind of powers and things you can do with this, I hope. With Cargomitian symbolism.
Oh no, I have no idea what it's going to do. I just assume it's going to do cool stuff.
five examples, but observe. So in this magical system, you have a lot of liberty to... you get a flavor, basically. And then you have a lot of liberty to make up your own spells and effects that you want to do with them. And then I get to say yes and or yes but. I should never say no. Sometimes if you say like, I want to carve a rune in this mountain that moves the entire continent, then I'll say yes, but you're going to need 7 successes, and if you fail, demons will come and eat you. So that's something I can do, right? Because that's such an outlandish idea, right? It's such a powerful spell. But it's not going to, I'm going to say no, right? So here's 5 examples from the rulebook, basically. Paralyze, so you can have a symbol that when people watch it, they get paralyzed. You could have a symbol that seduces the people who sees it. There is a canonical character, a Cargomitian dancer, Deidre, that I mentioned before. She has these tattoos, and she has them on the inside of her thigh, and if someone is trying to get a peek, because she's very, lightly dressed, they get paralyzed. So she's put one of those paralyzing runes, sort of strategic location on her body. But she's also put seduction runes in strategic locations. Terrify, that's something else you could do. Blind, or a symbol that can give you an omen.
I like the paralyzing one.
Oh, you have all of them. You can. These are just examples of things you can do.
Oh, gotcha.
The thing is, you have your win 3, and then you have your 1 rank in cargo mission symbolism, and you say to me, I want to do this effect X. And I say, okay, difficulty is 2. That means that you need to roll 2 4s on your 4 dice. Which is going to be, a bit iffy, because you only have the 4 dice at the moment. You might get more if you do it into ritual. You might get, take longer time to do it. I can give you extra dice for that. But the more sophisticated the effect, the more powerful the effect you want to do, the harder I'm going to make it for you to do it. So with 1 single rank in cargo mission symbolism, you might want to stick to do fairly simple things until you've leveled it up.
Okay.
So that's basically how that works. But this game will give you a lot of liberty to make stuff up. So if you want to have like a bunch of parchments where you've drawn these powerful symbols and then you pull something out, or you have amulets with them on, or you carve them into a rock wall, or you have it in your home and you put it on your desk, so if someone tries to rob your safe, there's a symbol, or you put it on a tattoo on your body. We can discuss a lot about what kind of stuff you already have on your body at start of this game.
Cool.
Necromancy, example effects, wake the dead, of course. You can do a necromantic attack. You can obscure someone's senses. You can spread disease. You can corrupt food, like make it rot. And you can visit the realm of death. Like, go to Hades, or the equivalent in this case. It's the realm of Eresh Kigal in this case.
Interesting.
Again, difficulty depends on what you want to do there, and so on. So that particular visiting the realm of death, that's difficult. It's a ritual with difficulty 3. So I don't think you're going to do it with a single level of necromancy, because that might backfire spectacularly on you.
Oh yes, but what
like
glorious backfiring it'll be.
Yeah, like, okay, you're stuck in the realm of death now. Make a new character. That's something you want to wait until you have better. You've learned more. So yeah, the third. How about the third experience here?
I was thinking that first necromantic experience was I accidentally raised a rat and it scared the shit out of me.
I love it. That's great. Have you given any thought to Destiny or Bane yet?
Not yet, no.
All right, we'll get back to that.
I was working on experiences.
Yeah, no, that was great. I loved them. Emily, thanks for your patience. You've been
no problem.
Waiting for a little while, but maybe you got some inspiration from hearing everyone else. I hope that's the upshot. 3 experiences for you.
All right, so expertise for profanities.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go with convincing.
Yeah, great.
And perhaps I escaped arrest for the theft of bread with a convincing string of outrage at the system which allows its citizens to starve in the first place. Isn't the system to blame, and don't I have a right to survive?
That's super poetic.
I love it.
Feel free to copy and paste that into an experience bracket there.
Okay.
Let's see how that
and
looks.
then for Machinator, I think I'm going to go with the Rabble Rouser. And again, it's kind of like that, like,
yes.
oh,
yes, I can see that.
Perhaps, maybe down in like Himbergond or something, some members of the resistance maybe were working in toil, and I freed them by rousing the workers against the overseer to free my comrades.
Ooh, I love it. You, Nephria roused the workers to rebel against the Trachorian overlords.
Question: could that have been the same? Could I have met Emily there through when I threw the wildfire bomb, and that's
Absolutely.
how we were involved in the same riot?
Absolutely.
I'd love you to be involved.
Riot buddies.
Heck yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Maybe
It's going to be a riot. Everyone should get involved.
Maybe we got arrested together. We were in the same cell, and we're like, man.
That could have happened. Why not? The inexhaustible knapsack. Where did you get that?
So I kind of thought maybe during like an act of sabotage or something, you know, just to disrupt the trade that was going on here, right? Because if this stuff is like going to the Trachorian Empire, then like, yeah, maybe I want to undermine this stuff too. So maybe I was raiding some mining offices and I found that maybe they were using it to like carry mining equipment or, you know, something. No, it has to be the same size. It has to fit in there. Maybe like gold or, you know, with the iron samples or something like that.
I'm gonna calibrate this a little bit. So since this is like an abstraction of things, it's more an ability that lets you be a hoarder and have all sorts of stuff in your bag rather than it's a bag of holding. It's full of all sorts of things. There is an equivalent in Forbidden Lands where a peddler can use willpower points to find things randomly in their backpack. Things from the list of trade goods, which is awesome. When you need a rope and nobody bought one. Like, wait, I have a rope?
Yeah.
It's like, so it's, I'm going to say, maybe it's like, you're a hoarder. You pick things up here and there. Sometimes you steal them, sometimes you just find them.
Kleptomaniac.
Yeah.
Go for kleptomaniac.
I find things, useful things, in the most unlikely of places. How about that?
I like that.
And so when you want to find an object in your inexhaustible knapsack, you pick something out there, and this experience would basically allow you to reroll such things. Because you seem like this character seems like someone who is roaming around a lot, poking her nose into all sorts of places, getting out of trouble by talking to people, but maybe there is something that was just lifted as she walked away.
Like, hang on, I think I have this key.
Yes, exactly. It might be, you know, I'm not sure. Let's see now. Difficulty is determined by what type of item it is. So difficulty 3 is something unusual and very specific. So if it's gonna be the key to open the cells, I might require you to roll difficulty 3 or difficulty 4, something like that, because now you're doing like a plot item. But if you need, so yeah, that's kind of how that's gonna translate, right? Okay. I think that maybe down the line she might develop the ability of thievery as well. That would fit really well here.
Yeah.
All right. You did. There was a very long passage there for the first one. I'm going to allow you to fill that with experiences.
That's fair.
Did you have something in mind for your destiny? How about to fight the Trachorian overlords until death, or something like that?
I mean, basically to take down the oppressive Trachorian colonists and free Trismera.
There we go. That works really well as a destiny. She is a dedicated freedom fighter. What's her bane?
So my bane is that I can't walk away if someone insults Trismera, which is basically going to lead directly into like an application of Machinator or profanities.
I can say, I mean, I'm gonna obviously poke these banes every once in a while. Since the part 1 of this campaign is on the little island of Marjura, off very far, 6 weeks sailing to the northwest of here, of the main empire, I don't think Nefria necessarily expects to find locals there insulting Trismera, but she will find definitely oppressive Trachorian colonists there, and they might.
Yep. Delightful.
So... Awesome. And I put Lemur Spade as your shadow power there. I'm going to throw out the question, before I go back and we do Bane and Destiny for the others, I'm going to throw the question to you, Emily. Which of the other characters' shadow power do you want to control?
Fundibera,
there we go. No hesitation at all.
I was really hoping to take that anyway. All right, cool.
Yep. And I'll put the strategic goal in there later on. You are going to choose some resources for her. We don't have to do that right away. That's going to be for the shadow power game. So basically, Stephanie's character, Eldrida, will not be the only one going to Marjura. There will be some other folks that Fundibera sends with her. And the objective for you in that particular board game, if you will, will be to get as much control and influence around the colony as possible for the moon worshipper Luvena, which means that when you play the shadow power Fundibera here, Emily, she will not be particularly interested necessarily in the liberation of Transmira as such, but maybe she's going to send some of those people that she sends with the convoy up to the court to seduce some of the Trachorian noblewomen to the cause of moon worship. That would be something that Fundibera could do. Her strategic goal to go to Marjura is to investigate omens of metaphysical significance. I'll put that in there. So that's going to be quite a mystic type of shadow power to play. And her resources could even be magic spells. Like, you could have a coven of witches that are going up there, or, some Wolfkin scouts, and so on. We'll discuss the exact nature there. She'll have 3 levels of it, and you can put everything into one single resource that's very powerful, or spread it out. But we'll discuss that in more detail later. Cool. Gotcha. We have you being Fundibera then, and I'm going to stat Fundibera 2 for you later on. It's not necessary to do that right now. Goat, have we decided on a destiny and a bane for Sifano?
Well, obviously, I'm going to become the most powerful mage that ever exists.
The most powerful mage that has ever existed. That means that you will have to somehow become more powerful than Fundibera. Good luck with that.
If you're going to set goals, set them high.
Exactly. That ever existed? Yeah, okay, that's an interesting destiny. I love it. Bane! Yeah. I have a feeling that this destiny has a flip side to it. Something about biting off too much you can chew or something.
That was what I absolutely cannot pass up an opportunity to learn new magic. But stuff.
That in no way is going to land you
any. That'll kill you, but it might not.
That in no way will get you into any trouble in this campaign at all, ever. I can guarantee it. No problem at all. In fact, I doubt it'll ever come up. I can tell you that the storyteller will take vivid notes from this and cackle madly when we end this session. We had assigned you as working for the
hold on.
mob.
Could you jump to Steph for a bit? I gotta step away.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I think Rob was actually next for Bane, but I can jump to Steph too.
I mean, we'll leave it up to you. I don't think he cares who's gone.
I'm good to go. So we can start with me. I actually wrote in here, and you can tell me if these are good or not specific enough. So I put Destiny to help women reclaim their innate, powerful connection to the natural world.
I like it. It is very interesting. We'll see how that materializes.
Have you ever read the book Women Who Run with Wolves?
I have not.
Yes.
Okay, Emily knows what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, girl.
Yeah, I got you.
And my bane is that I cannot abide the suffering of women at the hands of men.
Ooh. Okay, that will invite me to portray scenes where women are suffering at the hands of men. Just saying, because, otherwise this would never trigger. Right?
That's true.
I'm just putting that out there. These banes are there to be triggered, right? So
I don't want there to be a lot of that. Okay, let me think about that some more. Go to Rob.
Okay. I mean, I understand you completely. I mean, as someone who's you're giving this character a clearly sort of feminist slant, and that means that she needs to have a struggle to fight against, right? That's a protagonist, the person who is struggling, right? That's what we're doing here. We're doing protagonists, so there will be struggles for them, which means that you need to have an opposition of some kind.
Gender wasn't a huge barrier in this world. There wasn't too much.
It's really not. So if you go to the Paratornians, for instance, which Transmurons don't like much, traditionally, it's a patriarchal inheritance system, right? So children will inherit based on male inheritance. The names will go after the father and so on. But I mean, the Empress is actually running the court. Among the oldest blood families in the Paratornian nobility, she's not the only one who is running things. There is a duchess. In fact, one of our shadow players is running her, who is also. So, then when you get down to the commoners and the rich merchants, the most famous and infamous pirate ruler in Trachoria is a woman. It's the Admirata of Emsica. She's a pirate queen. She runs the pirates that are actually more like privateers. So the Trachorian Navy keeps hiring her services to do all sorts of things on the high seas and complement their own capacities, which, yes, includes hunting Transmuran freedom fighters every once in a while. So there's plenty of space for women to... but even so, there is spaces where there isn't enough of it, arguably, because otherwise people wouldn't be attracted to Levena and Fundumera.
Well, I don't, but Stephanie doesn't want the constant women. You bring up a great point that I don't want my Bane to be constantly provoked, and therefore I have to deal with that all the time.
For sure.
It's okay. I'm okay in a little bit, but I would rather have my Bane played with more often. So what if we switched gears on that, and instead of that relating to Levena and that, what if that related more to like the potion making and sort of culty orgy side, and that I have no one else in the party has an addiction, right?
That's correct. Maybe you have a tendency to test your own potions a bit too often.
Yeah, is there some kind of like peyote is there kind of some peyote or magic mushroom equivalent in this world?
Absolutely. We can just make it up if we haven't already. So let's have a look here. I mean, the worst. I'm not going to afflict the worst. So you heard the example of the poison maker had a bane that they were addicted to Opiander. I would not recommend that at all, because that's going to kill your character. Opiander is a very interesting substance. It is not a drug. It is, in fact, a spice. And this spice has very weird properties and has basically destroyed an entire province, and therefore is banned everywhere else.
Yeah, I'm thinking less opium, more like magic mushrooms, where she's more addicted to the elevation that it brings, like the psychedelic properties that it brings her mind. She wants to go into that state of, being, I don't know how to so she probably loves doing her divination ritual. Like she probably wants to do that all the time.
Okay, I love it. There are some typical potions here that have been listed just for your reference that I put into the rule set there. So obviously you can make poisons, you can make antidotes, you can make healing potions, you can make stimulating potions that restores your exhaustion, calming potions that removes fear and doubt. There is one potion that's called Sinkakla that fortifies people. It makes it easier to see people. So basically it opens your eyes, makes you hyper vigilant, and it allows you to see the hidden. However, it is also addictive. And then basically anything, right? So, and addiction is a known side effect of many potions, so this would work really well.
Okay, so what's that name of that potion that expands your mind and allows you to see things?
Sinkakla. Sinkakla.
You just type that in my sheet where I have the question marks.
Yes.
That sounds great. That sounds perfect.
It's like it makes you it increases your perception abilities, basically. So your eyes become hyper vigilant, and you can see things that you normally wouldn't.
Sounds great.
You can smell colors.
It's perfect for spot. Yeah, smell exactly. It's perfect for spot hidden rolls, basically.
But also, like during my divination rituals where I'm helping women, reclaim their innate powerful connection to the natural world, I can also get high. It's great.
Yes.
Moving on.
It's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
I will ask you then as well, because I asked Emily, whose shadow power do you want to run that is not Fundibera? Because you can't run your own.
I mean, what are my options here?
Right now we have Gerion Groteski, who is that freedom fighter on Palamux, who Rob's character is working for. He's that Neo-Clavikian noble guy. We talked about the mob in Tresilva. That is the Wigmakers Guild, basically. So that could be, that's a mafia, basically. And we have talked about, and the name of that guy is Ingolmo Dokella, by the way. And the third one would be, of course, Lemur Spad, who runs the Trinsmiran Freedom Fighters. The one that Emily is working for.
I will take the mob boss if that's cool.
That is very cool with me, if it's cool with everyone else.
So that means...
We can even gender flip the mob boss if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So it's now Ingolma Dokella.
So a goat works for my shadow power.
Yes, and this shadow power wants to basically smuggle stuff to Marjura. That's
easier to smuggle things when all the cops are dead.
Yes, exactly. Open up smuggling routes to Marjura. And in this scenario that we have here, basically what Ingolmo Dokella is doing is financing, bankrolling an archaeological expedition to go grave plundering in Marjura. Legend has it that there might be ancient artifacts buried by an ancient civilization there, magical or otherwise powerful artifacts, or just old artifacts that collectors in Tresilva wants to buy, right? Because when you steal ancient archaeological artifacts, there's always someone on the black market interested. And that's basically what Dokella's there for.
There's always money in artifacts.
Yes. So your resources then might be smugglers, it might be a fence, it might be... so a resource is a bunch of people who are like mooks who do things for you as your shadow power, and you're going to move them, you're going to literally move them around on a board game.
Oh.
We'll discuss that in more detail later. We can do that in Discord. Okay, did we finish up here with Goat? I think there was something... You had to step away, didn't you?
Yes. Shadow powers?
Yes, indeed. So your character, Sifanu's shadow power is Ingolmo Dokella. You've been recruited by the Tresilvan mob. You live in Tresilva, which is basically New York City. It's huge. It has the Imperial Court. It has... everything that goes with the capital, right? The biggest merchant guilds. There are people from everywhere in Tresilva. It's a truly metropolitan place. I can give you lots of interesting... You have heard of the Freedom Games, of course, I'm sure. You must have seen it several times. You probably don't approve of them too much because they like to taunt Palamoxi people during the Freedom Games. Basically, the Freedom Games is a celebration of when the Paratornians cut the ties to the Clavikian Empire. They spend those Freedom Games mocking Paratornians for being dull and boring. And competing in insults. That's also a thing. One classic
like
installation...
4th of July if we made fun of the English, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, pretty much. One of the key pieces of the Freedom Games is they somehow always manage to find a bard who has never heard about the Freedom Games, comes from the continent somewhere, and is invited at great cost to perform a classic ode. The thing is with this ode is very popular on Palamux, the Woe of Tiamat, if I remember correctly. And this bard will always start playing, and sooner or later everybody will start pelting the bard with all sorts of produce, and then grab the bard, rip the bard down to the harbor, put the bard on a raft, and just push them out into the sea. And the bard may or may not survive that. And the symbol of this is to show that they're cutting the ties with the Clavikian Empire, because the poem symbolizes everything boring about the Clavikians. It's super somber and, all that stuff. So that happens every year in Trasilva. Somehow they always find some hapless sop that actually goes with them.
So like they ask this poor bard to play a song that's just going to be like universally hated in Pan so they can get outraged and send him out to sea.
Yep.
Nice.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
That's
nice.
Yep. The Freedom Games themselves is like a week of complete debauchery. Everybody's just partying their guts out. There will be carnal pleasures in every street corner at the proper hour of night. Which, of course, is excellent for a bunch of mobsters, right?
Mm-hmm. That's how you shake everyone down.
Exactly. Which shadow power do you, Goat, want to run? We have two left, basically. We have.
There's not a choice, actually.
Lemur Spade and exactly. You only have Lemur Spade because you can't pick Garion. No, you can pick Garion Groteski because you're not running Garion Groteski. You can be Lemur Spade or Garion. Rob,
except
and Goat,
if he, except if he chooses Lemur Spade, then I can't choose my own.
Oh, this is true. Yes.
I was saying, Rob, it's really a locked choice.
So you have to pick Lemur Spade. You're absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And Goat will have to then pick by method of... Is that okay with you, Goat?
That's fine.
Okay, so you will be Garion Groteski. Garion Groteski da Quafacha. And run...
What does any of that mean?
Quafacha is simply the river, the Kafasa River. So Garion comes from that area. Garion's strategic objectives is to connect with Marjuran rebels.
Oh, okay.
And
stir,
and stir up a rebellion on I think was that what I gave him? I have to double check this because that could also be Lemur Spade's objective. And I'm not sure. I don't want both of them to have exactly the same objective, but it's going to be something similar because they're both.
That'll make life nice and easy.
It's going to be overlapping. That's for sure. So yes, there will be some kind of overlap there. Right? Yeah. I might tune this ever so slightly, but basically, both Garion and Lemur, independently from each other, I don't think they're aware of each other's operations here, will want the Marjuran rebels to rebel. And this is up to you guys now. Whom of you want to have assigned this? One of either Lemur Spade or Garion Groteski will have gotten their filthy hands on a shipment of weapons. Very interesting, well-made swords that are going to go to these rebels.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Who will be doing this? Needless to say, I think it's probably more appropriate for Rob's character to have that one. So I'll take the Fontrasilor because Goat is going with the archaeological expedition, right? Or maybe the archaeological expedition is actually smuggling the weapons.
It could be covered,
yeah.
Or
it's digging equipment.
Or exactly digging equipment.
Right.
Or Goat's character is just with the archaeological expedition to get the artifacts, and he's actually interested in those artifacts himself anyway. But he would have to smuggle them out of Marjura because I don't think the Trachorian Empire... I mean, the only way to get artifacts off the island would be to be a part of the archaeological expedition, because they have a license to do this, which nobody else has.
Or to overthrow the Trachorian Empire.
Yeah, well... I'm not sure. We'll do
that overnight.
Sifano is not terribly interested in that part. I think Sifano's motivation to go to Marjura, he's part of the archaeological expedition, and he wants to see these artifacts for himself and see if they are magical and if he can use that for his own laboratory studies. I think that's his motivation.
Exactly.
While then I'm gonna get Arteg, the Fontrasilor, Rob's character, the weapons to smuggle to the freedom fighters. You're working for Gary Groteschi after all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your connect to this group would be maybe Gerion's agents in Tresilva have heard about this archaeological expedition, and you are there as a bodyguard. You never know, there might be wild people there on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Right?
Oh, yeah.
So the archaeological expedition needs some muscle, and that's you.
Definitely. Or at least big rocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Good with big rocks as well.
So that could work as your cover to go to Marjura and deliver these weapons somehow.
Yeah.
You will notice here that I'm speaking completely open about secret motivations because we're gonna, as a table, there will be some secrets, and because you're playing one thing you're playing is your adventurer character, and another is your shadow power. So there will be some meta knowledge going on where your shadow power knows stuff that your adventurer will not know. So there is a bit of openness to this game.
Plus all the good guys, it'll be fun.
Yes, exactly. For Eldrida and Nephria, your motivations for going to Marjura for your characters. I mean, you've gotten instructions from your shadow powers, right? So I'm gonna guess that Nephria, maybe she's part of the crew on a ship. Or have you gotten yourself into the archaeological expedition somehow? You are a machinator and an agent. You could be a spy that, you've been looking for an opportunity to sabotage stuff in Marjura for a while now for the Transmurans. This would make a lot of sense because I'm going to show that map. So the sulfur trade. Why is Marjura important? I haven't even told you guys yet. Have I?
Yeah, in Discord.
In Discord. Okay, so for everyone else then, why is Marjura important for the Trachorian Empire? It does sulfur extraction. And okay, that was the wrong map. I'll give you that. The Northern Ocean is a better one. So the island is really far off from Trachoria. The only reason why Paratronians would be interested in it is if they can make a lot of money from it. And indeed, Transmurans will probably know something about this. Marjura was populated by some of the Transmuran rebels of like 100 years ago or more than that, who just... Transmura was too hot for them, so they left and went to Marjura. And they were left alone there for a long, long time. Until a Trachorian scholar discovered that there was very high-grade sulfur on the island. And then the black powder recipe was discovered. And of course, if you want to make black powder, you want sulfur. And also, you can use sulfur to clear wine and make it, very exclusive wines. And the best grade sulfur to do that is on Marjura. Now, that sulfur is a full third of the total tax revenues that the Empire brings in every year. To make things more complicated, this ocean is very hard to cross. You can really only cross it twice a year on spring and fall. because otherwise it's either too many storms or the sea serpents are having their mating season, and it's a terrible idea to cross then with a ship, because you'll get eaten by them. So there are 2 times a year you can go with a sulfur convoy back and forth to Marjura. And that means the Trachorian Empire is putting a lot of protection around this convoy. They have a serious naval escort to it. Also to protect the convoy from pirates from Anorgin or Orgin, and even from the Crax Islands, north of Palamux, where cannibal pirates come every once in a while. So yes, this is the trade route, basically. As sulfur is so important to Trachoria, it stands to reason that Lemur Spade would send Nephria up there to sabotage the production.
Makes sense.
Somehow. Or stir up trouble somehow. And she might have been working on finding a way to get onto this sulfur convoy. Again, you can't just get to Marjura, I'm going to rent a ship and go there. It's a very
book passage.
Book passage is what you do. But how do you get onto the convoy without a proper cover story? If she's been in Tresilva for a little while to investigate this, she would have come upon this story about the archaeological expedition, because the Tresilva Academy is making a big number of it and a big show of it. It has some very important names attached to it. So maybe she is taking a hire with the archaeological expedition in some way as a cover story for her to get there. What do you think? The convoy goes, I can show you how it goes. It goes basically from Tresilva along the coast up to Isakra and then on. That's the typical trade route for the convoy.
Yeah, let's just say I'm a crewman and
right? Yeah, you can be hired as a deckhand, or you could be someone who is part of the archaeological expedition for some reason. Maybe you're the secretary. I don't know. You are a machinator. You can make up your own story for why you're part of the archaeological expedition. I'm getting hung up on the archaeological expedition because it seems like a good way to get everybody in the same group to begin with.
Yeah, let's do that. Like, let's just have me kind of intended to almost like be the face. Like, I'm a negotiator. I'm just kind of a guy who's there to grease some wheels, smooth things along.
With your water skill and your machinator and profanities, you're going to have absolutely no trouble convincing the expedition leader to allow you to come with the expedition. But I do want you to think about, if someone asks you, what is your role in the expedition? What would Nephria say? Is she advisor? Is she the secretary to the expedition leader? Is she...
Translator?
A translator?
I'm a consultant.
A consultant? All right. Advisor. Yes. A counselor.
Advisor.
You need my advice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The actual expedition leader, by the way, is called Briar Quickfoot. He is a apprentice to Tassimbar Harbmaster, who is the one who has attached his name to this expedition. Briar is an expert on the musicality of metals, and you're going to experience much more of him during session 1 when we play the actual journey. He's also very confused as an academic and has absolutely no idea what's happening around him, which makes him excellent to manipulate. It's perfect for you. You can wrap him around your finger any day of the week. Basically.
Nice.
If you start talking about metals and musicality, he will speak for hours with a lot of expertise. He knows a lot of lore, but he has no idea of how to, machinate, stuff like that. Eldrida, let's wrap this up with your motivation for going to Marjura. Since we're baking everyone else into the expedition here, let's do it for you as well. you're not the pathologist, and you're not going to be looking at how old the dead bodies are, which is, of course, what Goat's character will do. But you're a potion maker, which includes the possibility of making healing potions. Maybe you're the team medic.
Yeah, I was. Well, I know that I'm sent here by Fundabera, right, to investigate whatever mystical woo-woo's going on here.
Yep.
So could I also have, like, maybe been hired for the land version as a Pathfinder? Or I don't know if Pathfinding also applies to sea navigation. I don't know how that works, or if that's a totally different skill on water.
No, Pathfinder is perfect. This archaeological expedition is going out to the wilds outside the actual colony. And obviously they want someone to trust. Now, there are local Marjurans there that they can use. So if I was a smart, well-planned professor, I would go, I'm going to hire one of the locals to be a Pathfinder. But we're talking about Briar Quickfoot. So I can see how Eldrida talked here to Nefria. And Nefria said, you know, Briar, you need a Pathfinder, don't you? And Briar's like, well, I was thinking about hiring someone local. And then Nefria is like, but you need someone you can trust. You know, the areas out there can be very dangerous. And you don't know really about the locals if they are loyal to the Empire. So I know a gal.
I like this. I like this plan.
I like this as well.
And Briar's like, of course, if you want me to, I'll do that, and let's go with that, and so on and so forth. And hey presto, Eldrida was hired as a Pathfinder.
Cool.
I like it a lot. I guess you're all going to go out and look at some ruins. Or something else, because maybe I throw you curveballs because I'm like that, because I'm the game master. Or not.
What?
We'll see.
You throw us curveballs? Never.
Never.
Would I ever?
That's as likely as I am to show pictures of my cat.
Exactly. All right, you guys. We've been at this for almost 3 hours now, by my count. We have an adventurer group. We have the rationale for going to Marjura. We have the shadow powers. We have various hidden assignments. This convoy will be rife with intrigue. When we reconvene for session 1, which will take a while because we want a couple of the shadow players with us for that session, because you're going to spend 6 weeks at sea together with their agents. There's no way you're not going to meet them because you're on a caravel. It's a small ship, and you're going to go stir crazy if you don't meet them. So you will have your compartments in the ship, they will have theirs, but your characters will interact with each other. So you have your characters, they will have their agents, and I'm sure that's going to be interesting to explore. So we'll have 2 guests then on that session who will be here. One of them will in fact be, you'll discover soon enough.
Yes, don't want to spoil
and
the
then
surprise.
we play through that journey, and then session 2 will basically be starting as you arrive in Marjura, and the plots will start to ensue for you guys. But I do want to spend that one session with you exploring the journey and doing some role-playing between each other and getting to know each other as characters, and also getting to know these agents, because that, I'm sure, will have absolutely no significance later. There might also be 1 or 2 other NPCs.
I hope they all
ship.
manage to survive.
It will be a ship of intrigues, let's just say. But we are almost off to the races with this campaign. This is going to be very interesting, very exciting. And we'll take your first steps into Trachoria and the Conflux epic. And who knows how this might end.
Sounds great.
All right.
Indeed. And
Sounds good.
Thank anyone for watching. If the rules don't make sense to you yet, they will in time as we play through. And welcome to Trachoria, everyone. It's going to be a trip.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, all right, cool. That